center. Exhale over the right shoulder. Trying to keep the chin parallel to the ground, so not letting the chin drop in, but just keep the chin level as you move side to side, continuing to move with your breath until you do 3 on each side. And so not forcing the rotation, just turning your head as much as you need to. So finding your edge, we call it in yoga, that point where we're feeling sensation, but not going past it where we might injure ourselves or feel like a sharp pain. So come back to center when you're ready. Take your time. And then we're going to explore a lateral movement, a side stretch. So bringing your left ear down towards your left shoulder. And then inhale back to center. And again, moving dynamically with your breath. Every exhale coming down, inhale coming up. And trying to keep the shoulders relaxed. Sometimes they might want to hunch up towards our ear. See if you can drop your shoulder. And again, doing 3 on each side. And really trying to move from the side this time, not turning your head. So again, not dropping the chin in towards the shoulder, just so the ear is pointing down towards the shoulder. And when you finish, take your time, just come back to center. And then from here, let's do some shoulder rolls. So we'll inhale our shoulders up, exhale them down our back. And then we'll inhale up and exhale forward. And I like to end with a few extra going back, just because I know I round forward. So just kind of tuning in to see what you might need. Notice how this feels in your body, if there's any tightness or crunchiness in the shoulders, which is really common. We often hold tension in our shoulders. And then let the shoulders relax. So from here, we're going to come forward to table. And I just invite us throughout class today, pay attention to the transitions as we move. So those are just as important as the asanas or the poses. So if you're sitting with your legs crossed, I'll just show a couple different ways you can transition. You could roll forward onto hands and knees, letting go of your legs. You could also roll over to one side and kind of come forward, kind of bring your legs out, come to hands and knees. If you're sitting on your heels, you could come forward. So just being mindful and careful as you transition to hands and knees to tabletop now. And we're going to pay a little attention to setting up our table, kind of like we've been doing with our mountain pose. This is often a transition pose. We kind of use table to just do other things, but let's take a few moments to pay attention to it. So we have our knees underneath our hips, and our knees are about hip distance apart. And generally, our toes are untucked, so the tops of the feet are pressing onto the mat. If you need to, for stability, you could tuck your toes under, but generally our toes are untucked. And then our wrists are generally under our shoulders, and spread your fingers really nice and wide apart. Really press down through the pads of your fingers, so that helps take some pressure off your wrists. And if your wrists or shoulders bother you, you could bring your hands slightly forward of your shoulders to take a little less pressure off. You could also turn your hands out slightly. And then think about pressing down and then also pressing apart, like you could rip your mat apart between your hands, and you're really pressing down. And continue to think about this in a moment when we're going to do cat and cow. And then last thing we're going to look at is our inside of our elbows. So if you have a tendency to maybe hyperextend or lock, the inside of your elbows might be pointing straight forward. We want to think about having them kind of in between forward and to the side. So if there were lasers coming out of the inside of your elbows, they would form an X in front of you. So they're not perfectly facing in, and they're not straight forward. They're kind of in between, and there's a little bit of softness there. They're not locked. So that's something you kind of have to just check in with your own body. So from here, we're going to move now through cat and cow with our own breath. So with your inhale, let your belly drop and lift your gaze, pressing the mat away from you. With your exhale, again, really press the mat away, round, drop your head, and just move at your own pace through cat and cow, paying attention to the inside of the elbows, paying attention to pressing down, spreading the fingers wide, warming up the spine here. And after your next one, we're going to change the movement. So we're going to come back to our neutral table. Oh, and one thing I didn't say is about our spine. So we generally, we might say, have a flat back, but it's not perfectly flat. We have natural curves in our spine. So there's going to be a little bit of curve in the low back.